number 1, we find ourselves on Alcyone. Spawning right here. In the top right-hand corner. From Finland, we have Serral.
And his opponent spawning down in the bottom left. It is Wayne. The man who's gone through many transformations at this point. He is now on his 3rd iteration if we're following Dragon Ball Z rules. And if he is Frieza equivalent, he needs 1 more to hit his power spike.
Is that how it goes? He's gonna have to change his nickname 1 more time? Vanya, Ratata, Wayne. I don't know what comes next, to be honest, but...
If he changes it to Frieza, I would be so happy. That would actually just be amazing.
You know what? That's a killer nickname, too.
It actually is. It's really good. It's weird how many nickname changes we've had, actually, in the last, like, I don't know, 6 months?
Yes.
Ragnarok just changed his name to Shin. You know, Wayne has had 2 nickname changes. And of course, the most famous one, which has probably kicked off some of the other ones, is Time to Oliveira.
Yeah, absolutely. In my mind, the most famous one is Special. He used to change his nickname every couple of weeks, way back in the day. My favorite one probably being Princess. He used to go under the idea of Princess for some time, but yeah, I think it's a horrible idea to change your nickname, but hey, what can we do about it if you want to change your name? Like, imagine you've been working as the name Steadfast for a long time. You're like, you know what? No longer. I'm going to be Frieza instead. I think I would tell you that's probably not what you should be doing, Steadfast.
I would tend to agree with that. I would say that brand recognition is pretty valuable. But as far as some of the nickname changes, I mean, Times was probably about as perfectly timed as you could ask for. That wasn't even on purpose. That wasn't even a Beowulf. That was just it just happened. But he did do all of us casters a favor when he went away from that, because using time as a nickname and then also referencing in-game timer and all that jazz is just really difficult. It makes things very complicated. And you might be saying, anyone watching at home, talk about the game, casters. Why aren't you talking about the game? Well, I've been paying very close attention to the production tab, and it is exactly mirrored.
Yes.
Oh.
See, first blood? No first blood. We're gonna instead just pass each other by the watchtower. Serral nibbling away at Wayne, circling right there for just a little bit, but not getting the kill. You're absolutely right, though. You can follow this matchup, at least in the earlier stages, mostly just by the production tab. And so far, I mean, this is near identical. We're gonna start working on whatever we can here. You want to put a little bit of pressure on your opponent just to keep them honest. I've got a feeling, though, the first skill check will be coming up here momentarily with the first larva popping out of the hatcheries. Usually that's the moment where at least 1, if not 2, end up deciding to go for a round of links.
Yeah, and I mean, it's small little differences, but that watchtower, Serral's actually utilized it really nicely. He's gotten basically a ling and a half worth of kills as a result of that watchtower, which is pretty nifty. But talking about the production tab, talking about all that jazz, we do have, like you said, a little bit of a swell of lings. And here's the first deviation that I'm kind of looking for is when does the Roach Warren come down, if at all?
Yeah.
And it's not hidden, which is a little interesting to me.
Yeah, Wayne just putting it right out front and center. So far, Serral hasn't scouted it yet, so that's kind of interesting too. Generally speaking, he is very keen on scouting, and even if you do hide it in the main base, it may as well just be out in the open, because usually he manages to get a ling in regardless. But here's a bit of a dance, right? We're going to try and keep as many of these lings alive here, whereas the player here playing defensively is trying his very best to also, well, we had a couple of Banes, I think, running in, but 2 workers there in total, but he's trying to blow up as many lings as he possibly can.
Yeah, it's how did he even get those in? 'Cause like this is not there's not a big gap here. That's very sneaky. Good job from Serral picking up just a couple lings, but or a couple drones, but he does get a little bit of lost mining time. We'll get some residual scouting information as a result, and now he gets in and sees the layer timing. And Serral's cruising in this game number 1. He's got everything kind of going full bore. A little bit of a ling flood coming in from Wayne. He kind of needs to get something done with it.
Yeah, maybe there's been some vulnerabilities every once in a while in Serral's gameplay, and Roach pushes can certainly catch him off guard, so maybe Wayne just putting that Roach Warren front and center, hoping that he can maybe tell a story here to his opponent of a build that's not really happening. Instead, though, both players transitioning now towards Alaris. We do have a group of Zerglings sneaking into the natural expansion. Looks like a Queen will end up going down, maybe a drone or 2? yeah, ultimately that's still quite a few links going down as well here for Wayne, so not the end of the world at all for Serral.
Yeah, that was 12 lings for a queen and a drone. Obviously, losing that queen in ZVZ is a little bit more impactful because you don't have extra macro hatch queens or creep spread queens like you do in some of the other matchups, but it's still an expensive investment. And now we've got Serral with a little bit of a fake counter push. The funny thing about this is that it's a fake counter push, but it can actually get some very real damage done if the roaches don't get in position very quickly.
Okay, Banelings looking for some damage, and they do actually get 5 drones here right now. Serral getting a few of them with the Banes that he sent across the map. You're very right, though. That wasn't really that committed of an attack at all. Serral needs to stop droning right now. He's got Overlords finishing. I want to just see roaches here on the production tab for the foreseeable future because he's economically so far ahead. And one nice added bonus right here to dealing damage over at the opponent's third is that he also got vision of how many workers there actually were in total. And at this point, it's 47 workers here for the red player versus 57 for, well, Mr. Serral. That means that ultimately, when they're making the same units, he will just end up with a whole lot more of them.
Yeah, he certainly will. And even some additional residual damage with that initial little fake pressure that we saw where Serral just built a couple roaches, couple Banes. He also got the spine crawl that was building, which is an extra drone, extra couple of minerals. So Serral kind of, if we're talking about styles and everything, if that was a solar type push, we would have almost certainly seen a full committal with it. But even just the pressure itself kind of stumbled into a fair amount of damage. Now, Wayne does have a small advantage in terms of the timing with his +1, could start that +2 right away, and he will start it now, but it's going to be a pretty razor thin timing if he wants to hit with that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be all too impactful here for at least the next upcoming attack. I think Serral is going to commit to a full-on push here in just a moment. He's finished up his +1 missile right now. There we go, just a few seconds on the right side of your screen, and he is going to go for an all-out push right here across the map. There's no fourth hatchery with this. He does start up the +2 missile himself, but now just off of these small clinical precision moves, right? He's got 30 supply more than the opponent, and I've got a feeling he can just push up this ramp.
Yeah, he's going to do exactly that. The Banelings do get some decent connections on the front line. Roach is not what we expect to see, and it's a good concave from Wayne. But like you said, he's just maybe a little bit too far ahead already, recognizing the damage he's gotten on the top of his opponent. And Serral just takes a clean, clinical game number 1.
Yeah. No, that was pretty much as good as you could play it, right? I mean, it wasn't really that Wayne played poorly or whatever. He just made a couple of very small, minor slip-ups here and there. Serral immediately exploits them, gets a bit of damage done here, gets a bit of damage done there, and ultimately, yeah, if you don't have a Spire going or anything like that and you can't really catch your opponent off guard, you just find yourself suddenly with like a 30 supply deficit. And where exactly did it come from? Well, it's probably a combination of macro, right? Serral's very tight usually when it comes to the macro, but also just those, a couple of kills here, a couple of kills there. The attack's just not working out all too well right there for Wayne. And I mean, I compliment him for playing a macro game in game number 1, but I've got a feeling he's going to have to come out with something a little bit more aggressive here.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that he didn't feel he could do anything sneaky on that map. I think you are right with the Roach Warren idea. I think he might have been thinking, hey, maybe I can, like you said, tell a story and maybe trick Serral a little bit. But the mind games against a player of Serral's caliber have to be really, really on point in order to pull the wool over his eyes. And certainly we didn't see it there. Serral was able to play an extremely clean game, and yeah, he takes a 1-0 lead.
Alrighty, game number 2 in this best of 5. We are going to Golden Aura. This is a map where you can really play any tricks on your opponent. Well, another one that is really quite defensive. So I've got a feeling that if Wayne wants to mix it up, I mean, this is maybe also not his favorite map to go ahead and do so, but we'll find out over the next couple of minutes as we have now loaded up. And spawning right here in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the man who many consider to be the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time. It's Serral.
And his opponent spawning up at the top left for Starlight Twinkle. Can he become the Batman to the Bruce Wayne? It is Wayne. Don't you hate that when you have a fancy intro in mind and you're like, yeah, and then you say the name as a part of it and you're like, oh, what have I done?
Yeah, no. I had to giggle though. I saw you getting a big smile on your own face as well halfway through that sentence. It was a great introduction.
Yeah.
we need, you know, you guys have been asking for player cameras. We need caster cameras, just steadfast, just in the bottom right hand corner. You saw that smile coming in for like 10 seconds. That was great.
That would be great, actually. That would be like a good idea for like a stretch goal type of thing. You just have caster cameras
in the middle of your screen.
Just, if we hit our sub goal on the ESL channel, you can get steadfast screen blotting out the action. And for even more subs, we'll not do that.
Hey, there you go. Brilliant. You've really mastered this sellout game here. I like it. Little bit of a deviation here, though. We have Wayne here going for that 15 hatch rather than, well, what Serral ended up going for, which is interesting to me because over the last couple of months, it's been Serral who's been experimenting a lot with that 15 hatch opener instead. So he was playing it in literally every single matchup to the point where, yeah, I thought it had become his new standard. And then over the last few weeks, he's like, you know what? That build I've been playing all the time, throw it out of the window. I don't care anymore. I'm never going to play it ever again. I don't think I've seen him play it once over the last few weeks. Obviously, I haven't seen literally every game that he's played, but there's no denying that Wayne is now going for a build that Serral used to be playing about a month ago in every single game, and now Serral's no longer playing it, which is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, it's really funny how the meta kind of evolves and shifts around. And also shame on you, Loco, for not having seen every single game of StarCraft played. I mean, come on, like, there's 168 hours in the week. Do you not have any passion? Just use them all. Who needs sleep and mental well-being and all that?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I should just be watching every set. Luckily for me, I guess it is very doable too, because there's not that many Serral games to go around. But I mean, in the games that I have seen him play, he's been going a lot of 16 hatch once again.
I thought you were going to say, like, yeah, fortunately for me, there's not that many weekly tournaments that happen. Like, there's 12 tournaments a week. Like, it's just so
Good
much.
luck trying to schedule a StarCraft event in 2023. You're going to overlap with about 4 different events at the same time.
Yeah, for real. We are going to be seeing the Lings of Serral trying to get in here. Obviously, he knows what's up. Oh, that's a little bit of a nuisance, but it's... Actually, hang on. He didn't get far enough in to see the gas. No, he didn't. Yeah. That's really the most information I'm sure he'd like to see. You can assume most players don't play this gasless anymore, and I don't even know if they ever really did for any reasonable amount of time, but the main thing is that it is going to be 2-base layer.
Yeah. And that's an interesting one for sure. So Serral at this point doesn't know, but like I said, he has been playing this build quite a bit himself. Usually he would take the gases at a slightly different time. Then Wayne ended up taking them here, but I'm sure he experimented with every variation, and honestly, maybe that's the reason why he was playing it quite a bit. We'll have to see if all that practice ends up, working out in his favor, as he's running a lot of links across the map. There's tons more also on the production tab. Loses an Overlord right here to the Queens, but if he can get both of them in return, that would be absolutely massive.
Yeah, and the wall at the front, Wayne not pulling an extra drone to kind of complete this wall, that is... If this were any other player, I feel like there could have been some big danger. Serral, though, does check now, and he's going to get the wall. Yeah, Wayne, oh my goodness. Okay.
The margin for error here is just tiny, right? Like, you don't really have a lot of room for making mistakes at this level of StarCraft 2. And you can see that Serral only needs the tiniest of margin in order to just use that to his advantage right away. Wayne going for that third base right there with such a quick lair and moving both of the queens out on the map, he's basically cutting 7 corners, right? Like, he is trying to play the greediest game possible. Mostly just leaning into the fact that Serral normally plays that macro game almost blindly. He does it almost every single time in the same way, but mixing it up a little bit here and just with a small group of Zerglings, yeah, he ends up obtaining the victory.
Yeah, and you can't blame Wayne for making a move like that. Like, it's totally reasonable to be like, okay, I'm against Serral. I need to do some greedy stuff. I need to go hunting for overlords, sending my queen super far forward. I'm going to skip the second Evo because I'm just assuming it's going to be like 8 lings you're not going to check. And then Serral just kind of, makes a bunch of Zerglings and it's like, oh. And it looks a little silly, And to be honest, it was a little silly, but it's I can see why it happened the way that it did. It's just kind of a like Wayne bluffs. He bluffs a royal flush, and he's literally doesn't have any cards in his hand. He's not playing the game. And then Serral's like, call?
Yeah. It's one of those moves where if it works out, we as commentators would call it brilliant, right? We're like, oh my god, look at him, he's so smart. But then when it doesn't work, you look a little bit foolish. Alrighty, game number 3 in the top left-hand corner of a map called Hackett. We have a man who's already on match point in what seems to be the fastest best of 5 we played so far today. It's Serral.
And his opponent spawning down on the bottom left for Starlight Twinkle. It is Wayne in the red. So you call it Hackett then?
I call it Hecate, Hecate.
Okay.
Whatever.
I was gonna say, do you call it Beckety Industries then?
Yes, absolutely. It depends on who I'm casting with, I suppose. I mean, last week, I know you were busy traveling the world and all that, but last week I did a couple of casts together with Demu, and let's just say that Demu has very interesting ways of pronouncing map names. So this has been a hot point of discussion. Personally, I think it's officially, quote unquote, officially pronounced Hecate, but it just doesn't sound right to me. So I have decided to mostly go with Hecate, but I'm still mixing it up about 50% of the time.
I like that. I like the idea of being unpredictable. It makes you difficult, and it keeps your co-casters on their toes, you know? Like,
exactly.
You're really just doing us all a favor, because in order to cast StarCraft, you need to be thinking critically all the time. So what makes you think more critically than never feeling secure and comfortable? You gotta keep being like, oh, what's he gonna throw at me now? And it makes your brain a little more plastic, a little more flexible, and able to adapt on the fly.
No, that's why I'm doing it, actually. I thought it through about this much as well, and this is exactly the reasoning that I had in mind, Steadfast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're not just doing things. People don't just do things in life. There's clearly a plan
it's all
always.
Planned. Yeah. Absolutely. So wait, how would you pronounce this map?
Serral.
Okay, well, that's Serral Ellie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unrelated to the player, just a name I came up with on the spot.
I think Hecate is the god of the underworld. If Serral one day becomes the god of the underworld, I believe you.
I mean, at this point, he's the god of the overworld. He's just slaying nerds left, right, and center.
Yeah. No, exactly. So far, once again, pretty much identical build orders here by both players. Serral finding himself with one drone ahead somehow there for just a moment, but he's got some Zerglings going across the map, and we see the same split of the Lings right there on the mini-map as well for Wayne. Okay, both of them are going to be running on over towards the opponent's third base when they have scouted exactly where it's located, and well, I guess that's the only thing really worth noting as far as deviations go. Wayne has taken his expansion in what we call the triangle location, whereas Serral has decided to take the horizontal base.
Yeah. In some maps, it can be a pretty big deal, like where you take that third base. But I feel like on Hecate, it's not too much of a deal.
We can tell you've been traveling recently. That was great. Hecate. That's
Hecate.
That's one I haven't heard yet. But yeah, that's great.
I like it. We do see a big swell of Zerglings coming in from Serral. He's done this a few times. Ooh, Wayne does get the scout. Nice. I assume Serral's just going to drone out of this, and yeah, he's already fired up a drone. Probably going to a few more behind this, but this will force a little bit of a response and gives Serral an option to find some damage. Actually, with the Queen a little bit exposed at the third, is there the potential that the pick off? No, he does get it into a corner. Nice job from Wayne.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's one big swell of Lings here. Oh, Baneling's trying to get a connection in. Okay, not going to happen for now. But then straight back into mostly just drones. A few more Zerglings here to deal with the counterattack. Queen eventually is going to die. And that is a really good start here. I mean, until that Ling detonation just now. But that is a good start here. I think still, all things considered here for Serral. Assuming he can deal with this counterattack, because now there's going to be Lings on his side of the map.
Yeah, nice little cancel on the Banelings to kind of draw the Lings in a little bit further. Good micro move. But the Banelings are now, as a result, not done. And that is a little bit of a problem here for Serral. This is a lot of Banes for Wayne. Wayne going for the cancel on those Banelings will get them. There's two more coming from the natural, but this could be some damage. Serral Oh, he's still down in Lings a little bit. Wayne, can he get this queen? He'll grab a drone, and a nice little spread on the Lings from Wayne. But Serral ultimately will deal with it, will clean it up. Oh, and he saves the queen, 10 HP. Very well done from Serral.
Yeah, that was some excellent crisis management. Wayne, though, also getting some damage done, right? And he's droned behind it. So he's actually finding himself at a small worker advantage right now. Fires up a few roaches. I think these are mostly just for defensive use. Yeah, so fires up the lair as well as the +1 missile now on the back of it. Just a few roaches to make sure you don't die to anything silly. Whereas Serral right now is producing 8 of them. And I feel like 8 is getting to the point where you have to get something done with them, you know? You can't really just, you can't really justify making 10 roaches right here and then not getting something in, but Wayne scouts his opponent's third base, and he sees that there's not a lot of drones there.
He also scouts the main base, sees no lair, and yeah, there's no lair, no Evo chamber. This is going to be a full send from Serral. Yep. He's going to morph in some Banes. We do have Wayne very wisely building spine crawlers, 1 in the natural, 1 in the third. And he does, of course, have that Roach Warren defensively. No cancel on the lair, no cancel on +1 missile. If Wayne can hold this, he'll be in a fantastic position, but it will be a tough hold.
Absolutely. Yeah, Serral ready to just send it over here. There's 2 spine crawlers coming up as well. One of them, at the very least, is just about to finish up. Do we have enough right here for the red player to actually hold this? Baneling's at the third. Not really getting that much damage in. That's 2 drones for 2 Banes. Nothing to write home about, although... yeah, the spine crawler there, I guess, took a bit of a beating too. But ultimately, I think Serral has looked at this. He's like, you know what? And this is actually a very high-level decision. He's looked at this and he's like, you know what? I am not going to commit there. Because if I do, I lose the game. Instead, he droned behind. But now it's a bit of an awkward game, right? Like, I would have committed right there to the attack and lost the game 100 times out of 100 games. Instead, now we're sitting here with big armies. Neither player has really fought the opponent very much yet with the Roach Force. And it becomes a difficult game to read. Like, where do you take it now?
Yeah, it does become a difficult game. I would say a lot more so for Serral, though, because like looking at these upgrades, looking at the layer timing, if Wayne just fires up the +2 missile right now and maybe even goes for a second Evo for a 2-1 timing, it's going to be really difficult for Serral to deal with. But at the same time, is Serral's best path forward just to send it same way he did in game number, was that 1? With the +1 missile and the road speed and just kind of cutting anything else for a little while?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Wade do that. I think it'd be good.
Okay, well, this is not really what I expected. That's a very fast Hydra Den. He's got to be reading this as Muta, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too, or at the very least the potential for Mutas. Because his lair was so late that he's maybe making the assumption that since Wayne does like playing Mutas, that he just is automatically going into a Hydra Den. He will now get confirmation that it's not going to be Mutas. Although that being said, Wayne is also firing up his own Hydra list then. Keep in mind that with the new multiplayer balance patch, they are an easier unit to get going. It's not quite as expensive, and in general, they're just quicker to come out fully upgraded. And I guess, yeah, when you're playing a Roach Ravager-based army against somebody who's got Roach Hydra, you can be caught off guard pretty hard. It's happened many times where the Hydras just heavily outdamage the roaches, right? And you don't quite notice it until it's a little bit too late. So in a way, it could also be used as like a comeback mechanic.
Yeah, it's really interesting that they've both gone for the Hydra Den in this scenario. Serral, like you said, he did pretty much confirm that there was no Spire, so he hasn't fired up any Hydras. But Wayne with the sneaky Hydra Den on the third base, and Serral has not spotted it out just yet. Okay, he does see the Hydras actually pop out, though.
There's one awkward Hydra over there hugging the queen. It's like, no. If I don't move, I'm invisible.
It's just, shh, don't tell anyone. Serral also getting the Overlord speed here in order to, in order to be able to save those Overlords, have faster Overseers, all that jazz. It's a really important tool in a long macro game, but yeah, to your point, this is really interesting that we're seeing both players kind of going for a few Hydras here. I'm not expecting it in ZBZ.
So ultimately, right, we now end up with a situation where both players are making the same units, except Wayne's units are better upgraded. And because of that, I mean, it is going to be very tricky here for Serral. But then again, Serral is Serral. He's now doing a little Ling run by as well with the units that he still had left over from earlier, and he's actually getting a good number of kills in. He's got that high ground advantage over here as well. Wayne, you need to move. I was going to say, you cannot fight into that concave right there of the blue player. 13 drones have gone down to that Well, I mean, I'm calling them leftovers, man. Those Zerglings really weren't supposed to do that much.
No, they were really microed well by Serral, and they got a crazy amount of damage here. Now, this will be a, like you said, a huge timing with the 2-1 versus 1-0. Like, that's a big difference in terms of the upgrades. But Wayne, because he had to attack up a ramp, he wasn't able to really bring his army to bear in enough of a meaningful way. Now, I don't know about Serral moving across the map right here. This feels really bold until his upgrade's complete. But if he gets the right position, it could be okay.
There's a lot of units right now coming in from the left as well. Serral forced to retreat here. A bunch of those overlords in red in a lot of trouble. Wayne, in the meantime, going up towards the hive together with a lurker den, which I really do like here, because lurkers are amazing in this matchup. Serral not even really thinking about that just yet. Oh my god, I don't think he can push up that high ground. Okay, this time around, he does a run away from those biles just barely in time. Hive's gonna finish up, and ultimately, I think where Wayne is going is Hydra, Lurker, Viper, which is an amazing unit composition, because he's trying to headbutt his way up the ramp, but I really don't think he should. I think he should just play this calmly, collectively. I don't know if I agree with 15 additional roaches here, though.
Yeah, it seems like he really wants to hammer this one home. He's lost even more drones on the other side of the map. And, oh, he will get into a decent position around this base, but Serral gets there as well. And I think this is going to be exactly what the finisher needs. He has got a very good response. Wayne thinking he could squeeze in on top of that Hydra, or on top of that army, and get in before Serral could get back in position, using the hatchery to break up the concave, but Serral responded in time, and Wayne, during all this, has lost even more workers to the now completed burrow move tunneling claws. This is just getting out of control.
33 workers have been killed by Serral throughout this game. The only thing he doesn't really have is lurkers, right? So lurkers are coming up right now, and they absolutely trash roach ravager-based armies, unless, well, you manage to connect the corrosive biles like so. More and more drones are going down. Serral might just be able to target fire down some of these units. Yeah, they're not burrowed yet. They're not fully upgraded yet either, so he decides to commit right here. GG is cold, and Serral wins a very rapid 3-0.